And we are alive. Okay? We're live and we're alive and we're on the balcony again. And today I thought we might go landscape. Okay? Just wanted to test it out. Why not? We're going portrait for a while. Thought might be good to try out landscape. Why not get more of the scene? Get that stuff in the background, looking all pretty. Um so today we're talking about writing. We're talking about writing because that is what I did today. I wrote a bunch of scripts, and I want to talk a little bit about the process, because writing is difficult. Writing is very difficult, and whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, it has to follow some sort of pattern, right? It always has to make a point and then prove that point, right? And then at the end, you've learned something, hopefully, right? Movies follow this pattern. Um, Sales letters, novels, documentaries, everything, right? You don't want to watch the same thing over and over again. So every time you do watch something, it's because you're getting something new out of it, right? Because we've had so many movies and most stories are just David versus Goliath. The point of an interesting story is to just have an interesting, a new way of showing David versus Goliath, right? A problem that needs to be overcome. And David's unique solution is the. Geez, I forgot what he used. He used a weapon, right? To bring down the big bad. And that can be anything in a writing format. It could be a guy trying to be a better father, a woman um, trying to battle drug addiction. It could be anything. It can be just a boxer who's met his greatest challenge, his greatest adversary to this day, whether that's the opponent in front of him or himself. Oftentimes, it is a battle with thyself. Um, but in terms of short form content, um, if I could give you a piece of advice, do not let ChatGPT write your shorts. Okay, I've attempted to try and streamline the process to see, get my main points and see if ChatGPT can put it in a way, but it just sounds wrong. It just sounds like every single book you've ever read, with all these big words, and sometimes it just makes the wrong point. You have to read it again and again and make sure it's doing it, and then you ask it to no, do it like this, and then it'll change it, but it'll drop something else. It's great for figuring out different ways you can say the same thing and then writing it in your own words. It's really useful, but at the end of the day, you want to write it in your own words. And the topic is William Zinsser's On Writing Well. It's a great book, and I recommend it. And one of the main points that he makes in the book is that that you should. Did you just like and unlike? Thanks. Oh, there we go. Back to the like. We're talking about On Writing Well by William Zinsser. And in the book, he talks about one thing in particular. When you write, you have to rewrite. And then once you've rewritten, you write it again. And then you read it, and guess what? You write it again. And you might start to feel like by the fifth draft, the sixth draft, maybe even the 10th draft, that you're starting to get somewhere, right? And so people underestimate the level of rewriting that writing takes. Like I wrote a few shorts today. I wrote some scripts, and it's like read, get someone's opinion on it. How do they feel about it? Is it interesting? Is it engaging? If it's not, write it again. Write it again. Change it up. Put the ending at the beginning. Put the beginning at the end. See if there's some gold in the middle that you just threw out, and it could be useful elsewhere. Or maybe things need to be cut out. Maybe you're saying too much. Maybe you're saying too little. Write, then rewrite, and then rewrite. And yeah, that's what I did today. Engaging hooks. Say something lavish. Say something that catches people's ears too, because the first thing they see is the thumbnail. So writing shorts is tough because you think it's just the script, right? When you think about it, but there's so much that goes into the script. Then you have to worry about the title. You have to worry about the thumbnail. And the thing about shorts is the thumbnail's not very. Thumbnail comes from the clip itself, so you have to have that planned into it. It's kind of like a Rubik's cube. You can't just focus on one side, because you'll lose the other side, and that'll start feeling like a mess. And yeah, so I wrote a bunch of scripts. I think in the morning I'm going to write some more, and then tomorrow I'm going to spend filming it all. And I'm not going to skimp steps. That is not going to happen. I'm going to film a bunch, and then I'm going to edit. I think my least favorite thing is to edit a bunch of videos together, because I can edit, but editing on your phone is not very fun, and you have so much fun in the writing aspect of it that you just want to get it over with. And at the end, with the editing process, it's the same thing. You have to edit again and again and again. Sometimes things don't work. It's not engaging. You went through the whole edit, and even yourself, you start to lose attention. And yeah, you find yourself writing, rewriting in the writing process, and then the filming goes well. As long as you plan out the shot list, right? I think the easiest part is the filming, because you just need to follow the shot list based off the script. If you've written a tight script, after writing, rewriting, and then rewriting again until it's like solid, the filming process can be the easiest part of it if you just follow the shot list. And the shot list comes from just going through each line and just like imagining what is interesting or what you want on the screen, right? And obviously, because of the script, you've written it and you know how it's going to sound, how you're going to say certain words, and how you're going to say others, with the kind of emotion in the voice, and you want to visualize that in your mind, and oftentimes the mind can come up with some interesting things. So that's the easiest part of the process. Just come up with a shot list, and whatever graphics, videos, whatever you need, according to the script. Right? It's the most easiest part of the process, coming up with a shot list once you've written, because you just have to go through the script and then just write out the shot list, just using whatever you can imagine in your mind, and then the editing is the hardest part, because the filming is just follow the shot list and you're golden, right? Writing's the hard part. Then the shot list is fairly simple. you know. And then the filming is fairly simple because it's just following off the steps of the script, right? You're just following the script. It's all good, and then you get to the edit. That is a pain in the ass. The edit is essentially writing again, right? Because you're taking what you created, all you filmed from the script and the shot list, and then you're editing, and it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing, and you have to make sure that there's no dead spaces. You have to cut off any kind of thing that doesn't belong there out of the edit, and you end up getting a variable product to the original writing. You get a product that's completely different, right? And because you make the filming easier because you're just making shorts. You're not making like a big picture movie where thousands of jobs are on the line. So, it's not like you need five camera guys, six light guys, two mic guys, and a director and a few actors. It's just you and the phone. So it's the simplest part of the process. Everything around it is what makes it gold, and the editing is annoying, which is why it's annoying to sit there. Writing is easier because it's just a blank page in front of you, and you just type, and words appear on paper, all right, or on the screen. The filming of it, just following the shot list, you're all good. The editing is the worst because it's the most technical aspect of it. You're essentially rewriting, but without words. You're writing in the visual format, and it's kind of like the difference between 2D and 3D. Paper and a Rubik's cube, and it can be quite. Which is why I don't like doing like a bunch of. I don't like doing a bunch of edits at once because it's probably the most taxing part of the experience. And yeah, that's the point, right? You just write, and you do it in different ways in each part of the process. In each part of the process, you're writing, and depending on what your format, your medium is, um, each different thing will have varying levels of difficulty. But the edit will always be the hardest part. The edit is taking what you wrote down, right? The writing will always be an incredibly difficult part, right? It's very difficult. There's a lot of things that go into it. Imagine it as a Rubik's cube itself, right? But then when you compare it to the edit, it's like it becomes a paper again, right? And you have to go one step higher to go to the editing process, and that sucks. It sucks because it's mentally taxing because you spent so much time writing it, and then you've spent a good amount of time filming it. And filming can be quite taxing in the laborious task of setting up the camera, getting the frame right, making sure you have sound, and all of that stuff. It's a little more technical, and it can be creative if you make it. But if your script is good, it's something that you can kind of make it more simple, right? Because the words will carry the effect. It will carry the weight of what you want to get across. And the words, if you've written the words well, you can take it a little bit more simple on the filming aspect. But when it comes to the editing, it's again writing and then rewriting, right? You're writing using the tools in your editing software. And it can get quite taxing, which is, I like editing, but those guys who sit and like edit like movies or like hour long YouTube videos, not. I mean, maybe I'll grow the patience to be able to do that one day, if I'm not doing it on the phone, right? But boy, is it difficult because it's not just. It's like a combination of the things that are difficult in filming and difficult in writing combined. because writing is simple in the technical aspect of like pen and paper, um, Google Docs, and you just start writing, right? And the difficult part is in the creativity. And I'd argue that filming is also incredibly creatively challenging, but because you're just doing like content, and it's not like it's not like the Batman where you need to spend weeks trying to figure out what color you want on the screen to present the accurate feeling of the character. If you're not going, you don't need to go overly visual, which makes this which makes filming when you're doing content far more simple in the creative aspect. But it's difficult in the fact that it's very laborious and it's very taxing, right? You have to find a spot to film in. You have to make sure a lot of different things are just right. Because even if you're doing a simple recording, um, it can be a little difficult just making sure everything's right depending on your environment. Like over here, it's hard to do lives or recordings on the balcony because it's very loud here. There's like 4 or 5 construction sites right around me, so it's always very loud on the balcony. But I got the little mic, and that solves that. And it's like it's a little technical. I have to make sure I always have this with me. I can't do a live on the balcony without it. And then even when I'm in public, I can't be too loud on the live and start talking about AI and then Indian scammers, you know. And so there's a bit of a technical aspect to it, and that can be the most difficult part of it, right? Oh, I didn't record the sound right. I have to do it again. Um, I have to make sure I get the angle right. The phone's not, angled correctly. I need to re-record, and that can be quite laborious and taxing, and it's difficult in that sense. But with editing, if you want to get your point across, you have to make sure that whatever you solidified, right? Because you worked hard in the writing process, right? You wrote down a good script. In the script process, you worked hard and you got it down. But then what happens is that you got to reflect that accurately using the filming and then in the edit, right? You have to reflect that accurately. Am I getting my original point across, even though it's not as perfectly filmed as I wanted it to be, right? Because it's just you and the phone, right? So it's not always going to be perfect in the filming aspects. It just has to be nice and simple, and it has to work. That's all. It's just you and the camera. Then when you get to the edit, it's bringing out exactly the message you wanted in the edit. And the issue with the edit is it can be boring, and you have to spice it up. You have to add music or remove music and test it out. Does this work better with music? Should I add music? And it's like, okay, creatively perhaps music doesn't need to be there, but do I need music in the background just in case? People prefer listening to music online. If you have music playing on your short, if it's connected to a popular sound, you might get more views. All of that has to be considered, because what they will be watching is not your script, not your filming process, but exactly what you've edited to be on the screen. And it's almost like the entire process has just been getting some visual thing that was in your mind on paper, filmed, and then in the edit you bring it all together and try to bring it as close to exactly what you've imagined. And that's not easy. So every step of the process is just writing and rewriting. And sometimes you may have to rewrite in the filming process too. Um, uh, like on paper, sometimes words just flow well reading them in your head. But when you say it out loud or when you're recording, sometimes things just don't sound right, and you have to be aware of that. And if you don't keep an eye on that, maybe you're too wordy, maybe you're not saying enough, the rhythm of what you're saying seems off and it's disorienting for the person listening. Perhaps you're using too many words, too many complicated words, and you want to keep it simple, right? And we spoke about this. You want the viewer to think, but not think too much. You want them to think enough to let them know that what you're saying is interesting, but you don't want them to think so much that they get confused and they swipe or click on something else. What's the point? The whole mission here is to create something interesting that people want to watch. And that's difficult in this attention economy. I just yapped for like 20 minutes straight without any breaks. I was expecting to do a short live, but I guess I just got into it. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is, you know? And in the book, William Zinsser, he talks about this a lot, you know? And I bring up the example quite a bit, but it's such a good example. Even the best writers have to write 5 paragraphs before the real writing begins. And it's like all that, and it's a lot of mental calories. It's a lot of mental calories writing 5 paragraphs, because you're not just yapping. You're not just coming up with bullshit. You're trying to get a message across. And so there's a lot of thinking that goes on in that. And sometimes it's not so amazing, you know? Most times it's not so amazing. And you just keep rewriting and writing and trust the process, and make it real nice and tight, make it interesting, and then go with your gut. you know Obviously, as you progress, you'll see what's working and what's not, and you have to really look at it from like a researcher's point of view, like a scientist, right? Pull it apart. What about this is interesting? Why did this one work and why did this one not work? What did I do differently? And it's like I've made 10 and these 3 really worked and the rest didn't work. What did I do here that's different to those other 7? And then use those as an example of where to lean to next, and then make another 10. And it's like, which ones out of those worked well? And it's like you get closer and closer to the truth. And the issue with that is it takes a long time. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of mental calories, testing and retesting. Fortunately, though, that's the only real way to not get lucky. Right? And you might have heard this. Don't play the lottery. You're more likely to get struck by lightning than you are to win a lottery. Being lucky is not a game plan. Luck is not a game plan. Luck is not a game plan. I like that. That's going to be tomorrow's topic. Luck is not a game plan. We're going to talk about strategy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's been an interesting day. It has been an interesting day. But yeah, been writing. And I did try to use ChatGPT, but boy, did it suck. It didn't really have, anything of use for me this time around. So I just wrote it myself. And plus, if I ever try to use ChatGPT, it never really sounds like it's me, right? Everybody's got their own style of talking, and you have to work that into kind of your advantage, right? It's a part of the authentic you, right? It's your personality. And what's interesting to you will be reflected in the way you talk about it, right? It's unique insight. We spoke about this yesterday. When you want to get a point across that is a new argument, when you're adding something to the conversation, you cannot have someone else do the work for you. You cannot have someone else come in and take your ideas and formulate it in a way where it's coherent. And it may be coherent. ChatGPT is usually good at being coherent. It does mess up, but for the most part, it is very coherent, and it writes in a very very much the style that you'd expect ChatGPT to write in. A computer to speak like, and because of that, it doesn't sound like you. And if you're using ChatGPT to write something, so is the other person, and the other person, and anyone who's not for the creative endeavor of writing. They will all sound the same. And if you write yourself, use ChatGPT for help, for research, for coming up with ideas, sure, to help speed up the process of writing. But when you're writing it yourself, it's you. It's you against the page. It's you against the camera. It's you against the edit, right? And that's just the way it goes. This is the fastest that time has moved in the live for me. I'm actually quite surprised. I'm already at 28 minutes. How hot is my phone? It is burning up. So I think I'm going to do my usual and end it at 30. I do want to do longer lives at some point, but I'll make the edits, and then I'll try to go live as long as I can in an AC environment. That's going to be my game plan for tomorrow. And I'll try to go live twice. I want to. Yeah. That'll be cool. That'll be fun. That'll be interesting. But yeah. Hope that helps. Just keep writing. And rewrite the same thing 10 times. Read it out loud. Change words. Change them back. Try every variation possible. Writing is the most important part of it. It's the foundation. And each part is an important floor that builds to your skyscraper of a project, right? Metaphor. And every step of the process is built upon the writing. And, the final step is also writing. And so you have to make like a burger in a way. The top bun may have sesame seeds on it, so it's a little harder because you have to work through the sesame seeds. But when you're making a burger, it's 2 buns, baby. 2 buns. One at the bottom, one at the top. And if you're making a Big Mac, then you might need to do some writing in the filming process too, in the center. Which a lot of writing happens in the filming process too. It's just not very time efficient to do that. It's not very time efficient, so you have to be careful. Cut time where you can. If it is unnecessary to spend so much time in the filming process, keep it simple. If the writing is the part that's most important, and the writing is the part that's most important, then then you can go simple with the filming and you can go simple with the editing. But because engagement is such a pain in the buttocks, you have to worry about writing in the editing process, because it's with the writing, the script part, it's more like what words will be the most engaging, what argument I'm making, and the structure of it, what will be the best structure of this argument that will make the most sense and be the most interesting. And then when you get to the editing process, it's doing that same thing over again, but then in the visual sense, but also making sure that you're taking into account every other aspect of what the viewer will see. It's not just writing out the argument, it's visually making sure that each point and each second is interesting enough for people to want to continue watching. We've just hit 32 minutes. This was fun and honestly moved quite fast, because apparently I had a lot to say. I thought it was going to be like 15 minutes, but we doubled that. Yeah. This was cool. Yeah, I hope that helps. Writing is an incredibly difficult task, and it requires rewriting again and again. Rewriting to the power of n, the nth term. Multiply that rewriting process, right? The first writing, the writing which is first, is just the boilerplate. And then when you're rewriting, you're doing a lot of different things, changing everything around, discovering different formats, and then you get to perhaps a more polished product, which obviously you can only learn if it works through testing, because creatively something can be really clever, really interesting, but it has to be engaging. It has to add to the conversation in a way that other people are not expecting. And then you have to do that again in the edit. Well, this was fun. I hope you learned something. I hope this helps. And read the book on writing well by William Zinsser. You'll get a lot out of it. But this was me. I'm going to end it here. Be good, do good things, and subscribe, and good things happen. Okay? All right. I will see you tomorrow.